Hello and welcome to Compounding Curiosity. I'm your host Kalani and this podcast is all about compounding your curiosity alongside my own through thoughtful interviews with interesting guests. For transcripts and detailed show notes, check out the links in the description. Hopefully you're as keen as me to learn something new, so let's get stuck in. Alrighty, how are we doing? So a little bit of a different episode this week, just maybe a reflection or a recap type of post, I guess. I don't plan on doing these types of episodes often. I cannot stress to you how much I hate talking in long-winded answers myself. I really like to ask questions and get the fuck out of the way. So, not planning on doing this often. I'm only doing it this week because I'm assuming listenership will drop due to the holidays and New Year's and whatnot. And I don't want guests to have a smaller than normal audience. I don't think that's fair on them. So I'm hoping not to be too self-indulgent and venting too much. And like everything that I do, I'm going to try and make this valuable for you and worth your time. So I'll basically be going over just some future episodes and guests, lessons so far, what the stats generally look like, and plans for the future, and what I hope to achieve. So I'll probably be over and done within 20 minutes, let's hope, because I seriously cannot envision myself chatting for that long. I don't know how other people do it, but yeah, that's just me. So before I get started onto all the specific details of the podcast and lessons and future episodes, I just really want to say thank you beforehand because I've got the best job in the world. I just want to say thank you to listeners, to guests, to my missus who helps out with the transcripts. It's extremely humbling. It's pretty surreal. I don't know. I'm not quite used to this yet. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It's amazing. It's just it's all new to me. So I really appreciate people that listen and reach out with feedback, and it honestly means a lot because a lot of the time it is just me and a laptop doing all the editing, doing all the transcript, and it can get a bit lonely sometimes and no one really understands. So I'm not trying to ask for pity or anything, but no, I just want to say I'm really grateful for people that listen and tune in. So in terms of future episodes and guests lined up and in the works, I've got Greg Lamb, who runs the Life Where I'm From YouTube channel. So he's currently got about 1.5 million YouTube subscribers. So I was lucky enough just to reach out and get a response back, and we've recorded the episode. That's going to be a video interview as well. So on the YouTube channel, you actually be able to watch the interview if you're into that kind of thing, I guess. So we chat about basically the YouTube landscape, what it's like making videos, what his whole process is like. I'm super interested in that kind of stuff. So for me, it was fun. Hopefully you find it as interesting as I do. So that'll be on the 6th of Jan. Next one after that is Pratyush Rastagi on Grab. So second time on the podcast, but we'll be talking this time about Grab. So it's a big deep dive in their business model, their history, management, regulation, what it's all like. It's probably another 50-minute deep dive. I really enjoyed recording that one, so that I'm editing that together now. So they're ready to go, done-ish, like recorded and done. Ones I'm planning for in the works. There's a Nintendo episode coming up soon in January, hopefully. And then there's another one I'm trying to get really hard. It's close. I'm just trying to book a time, I think, with Rachel Lau. Hopefully I'm allowed to mention names and stuff, but Rachel Lau. And that'll be about the sort of VC private equity space in Malaysia. So that's coming up soon as well. So hopefully that'll be around January. And then, I'm always looking for more guests and stuff. So feel free to reach out. This is my ask, my one and only ask. If you ever have a suggestion, a close contact that you know that might be interested, put them in touch. But that's probably the best bit about the podcast is that you can get guests anyway, anywhere, anyhow. Lessons so far. The biggest one, having a podcast, is basically a cheat code. So the people you get access to is honestly unreal. I wouldn't dream of asking and talking for an hour with some of the people I've had on so far. It's just unreal, and I don't know how else to put it. It's just like, I encourage everyone to try their own podcast. If you're keen about that sort of stuff, I don't know. I like it, and it's forced learning as well. So I love it. The next lesson is probably get organized and get on things early. So the weeks come around faster than you think, especially with a weekly podcast. It is just like go all the time. And same thing. Sometimes you'll record a heap of episodes and getting them all ready, and you're putting them out, and you feel like you're on a roll, and then you've sort of forgotten to reach out to more guests, and then you're back on the reaching out train again. You know what I mean? So that's a big thing, is get organized and get on things early, because things just come quickly way more than you think. And the next probably lesson that was big for me is just to prep some more, because no matter how prepared you think you are, you always have to be twice as prepared. And even then, I don't think you ever really do feel prepared. It's just more comfortable maybe, but I don't know. I get violently sick before podcasts sometimes because I just get so nervous, and no matter how much research I do, it still flares up. But it helps a little bit, and I feel like I do a better job. I'm never 100% happy with how a podcast turns out, just mostly for myself, really. I'm always kicking myself that I didn't know this or didn't ask that. But yeah. Next lesson is just having zero expectations. So I think expectations often puts a limit on what probably is possible. And if I thought that I should only reach out to people that I had a solid chance of getting, I wouldn't have a podcast. So some of the guests I've had on, like I never would have thought it was even possible. Andy Ho, John Buchanan, who coached Australia, telling 15-year-old me that I'd get to interview a former coach of Australian cricket team, I probably would have had just like a heart attack. You know what I mean? Like I just can't fathom ever doing that sort of stuff. But I think when you have zero expectations and you're just willing to sort of, have a crack. I don't know if I'm naive or stupid, but maybe both, probably both. I'm always willing to just have a crack and see what happens because you never really know. And it's, as long as you can provide them value to make it worthwhile for them, I think you have a chance of getting people on. And again, on that zero expectations, episodes perform wildly different to how you might expect. So you might think that an episode was like maybe not one of your better ones, or maybe the guest won't love it as much. I don't know. It's hard, but then it'll blow everything out the water. Or you might have an episode that you absolutely love yourself personally, and then it doesn't really get that much of a reception. So episodes that have probably performed differently to my expectations was, the biggest one has been the C Limited deep dive episode with Punch Card Investor. So for me, I enjoyed that episode, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but that was my first deep dive on a business, and I don't know, I just thought it would perform in line with expectations, because at that stage, I think I was usually getting around 250, 300 downloads an episode pretty consistently, and basically like 5x'd, because I think I got around 1,1600 it's at the moment. I had zero expectations for that, like blew everything out the water. It was crazy, people were sharing, it's been linked in tons of different places. I can't follow anymore, but that was a big one. Happy surprisingly. You just never know. So I'm going to try a few more deep dives if people will like it. Just double down on them, I guess, because if that's what people like and enjoy, then may as well. On the flip side, probably my favorite episode that I don't think is in line with listener expectations was my episode with Mio Kato. Like, I love that, and it's my longest episode. Only thing is, but I asked maybe 6 questions over an hour and a half. I didn't do much. I just got to listen. It was great hearing his like sort of analysis, research, opinion. I loved it. I honestly thought it was so damn good, but it probably performed in line, if not a little bit lower than expectations. I don't know. It's just what happens. I can't control it. No point complaining about it, but that's one episode I really enjoy, and I wish I had have performed a little bit better to maybe give justice to Mio, because I thought it was absolutely amazing. Obviously, it's like choosing children. I love all my podcast episodes equally, I guess, but that's probably one where I think it was a little bit differently to how I thought it might perform. Another lesson on what I've learned so far is probably just do what you enjoy. So if you don't enjoy it, why bother? Episodes often turn out better that way, I think. If I have a genuine interest and passion in it, they always end up better because it's just a naturally curious type thing. That's why I've got Asianometry. I've published that one. That was a YouTube with a business sense background to it, I think. But like, I love YouTube. Like, so for me, it was a pretty interesting one to see how someone's successful on there, like how they go about it. Same thing with Greg Lamb and Life Where I'm From. He does more like lifestyle content on YouTube and stuff, so it's not a finance investing type episode that you might be used to. But for me, I was naturally curious about it, and I love to hear about that. So maybe listeners are expecting more of a investing finance type background or content, but it'll be interesting to see how that one performs, because that's a one, again, I really love. It'll be interesting to see what guests think of that. Same thing, it'll be a video interview as well, so maybe people enjoy it more, maybe, who knows. I don't want to say throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks, but oftentimes it's what it is. You just sort of got to put it out there and with zero expectations, and some things get picked up, some things don't. So one big lesson, and one of my favorites so far, is just find some friends doing some interesting stuff or related stuff, and just tag along with them. So for me, my first ever guest episode, Michael Fritzl, And then he got me... Who got me onto Aaron? I think Eugene, actually. My second guest got me onto Aaron Peck. But then Aaron asked me to be part of a group chat. And now it's honestly like the best part about this whole thing is... So it's like me, Aaron, a couple of other guys, literally just chatting about like strategy, basically. Almost not... Oh, it's a bit of shit posting and stuff in between. But I love it because it keeps you sane and you see other people in similar positions. Maybe some... Like Michael's probably a bit ahead where I want to be. So I look up to him a bit and can ask him a lot of questions. And he obviously does it full time as well. So it's incredibly, without being cliche, like inspiring, or it just gives you a good guide. You know what I mean? Otherwise you're just doing it all by yourself and you don't really know what's working, what people like. Sometimes it's good to get unfiltered feedback as well. So they might mention something and you can be honest and just vent. Sometimes it's a good point as well. So for anyone that does do this kind of stuff, I think it's hugely invaluable and I cannot recommend enough. So yeah, I just like to plug the boys. So thank you. And probably like my second last bit of feedback or big lesson I've learned is just to say yes to everything. So maybe sometimes you might get a bit, I don't want to be a stickler and you might be like, oh, maybe I don't have time or maybe I'm not that interested in this type of episode. Just say yes, just do it. And you can always, I don't know, nuke it down the road or whatever. One good example, I think, is my episode with Matthew Ruber. I just got a random reach out on Twitter and he was like, hey mate, got a guest for you. See what you think. And on selfishly, rudely, arrogantly, on first glance, I was like, okay, whatever. I'll do it just because of the sake of it. Ended up being one of my favorite episodes. Like, it was so damn good. And maybe that's what made it so fun, because you go in with zero expectations, which was like an above point. You go in with zero expectations. You're not trying to pigeonhole someone or pigeonhole an episode and what the guest might think. You just sort of go in, have a chat. You've got it on record. Bam. It's like, I love that. And that had good feedback too. So I just think good things happen when you're open to ideas and opportunities. So you'd be rude not to say yes at every opportunity you can. So, and my last lesson is just to go with the flow, basically. So I have a very loose idea of what I want the podcast to be and what I want to do online in terms of this whole shebang. But it really just comes down to following my curiosity and doing what I enjoy. I think that's what it boils down to. I don't know. I'm not making money out of this, obviously. It's costing me money, if anything. Cost me money, time, whatever. Maybe it pays off in the long run. I'm certainly hoping it does. But either way, I enjoy it. So it's not the worst thing in the world to just chat with interesting people, connect with people you wouldn't otherwise. Honestly, I love this thing so much. Getting the people makes it so damn worth it. Like, I could go through every single episode, but getting to chat with people, Eugene, Graham Rhodes, I am extremely thankful. I feel bad not mentioning my names now as well, Pratyush as well. It's just, it's the best bit about it is getting to chat and meet with people. And I like, again, maybe I'm naive, but I genuinely think of them as friends and I'd love to catch up when borders are open again. So yeah, I'm open to all feedback, advice. If you ever think about starting one yourself, flick me a message. Happily help you out because, I think the more people doing this, the better. Because, I started this because I didn't have a podcast that I wanted to listen to, if that makes sense. So I always wanted to a podcast that focused on people in Asia Pacific and what's going on over here. So I thought, why not do it myself? So the more people doing this means, I don't know, you might start a podcast about the startup scene in Hong Kong or, I don't know, dairy farming in Asia. I'd probably listen to that because it's something different and interesting. So don't ever feel, I don't know, is the market big enough for this? Or who would listen? I don't know. Just give it a crack. Who cares? You learn something new. I think everyone else is better off that you tried. Like, you may not get anything out of it, but some random person from middle of nowhere might get a ton of value out of it. So, I don't know. Give it a crack. What's the worst that could happen? Stats. I'm a stats man. Okay, so again, I don't have any expectations. I don't know what's good. I don't know what's bad. I'll list the images on the webpage and all that. You can find them in the details in the show notes. But I've got total 9,000 downloads for all episodes. I think my biggest one again was Punch Card Investors C Limited Deep Dive. I think that's about 1,500. Don't quote me. I don't check this daily. But yeah, I think episodes now, I think the last few after Punch Cards episode have probably averaged about 400. So Max Co's is at 400 now, I think. And Asianometry's episode was at 400, I'm pretty sure, last checked. Obviously, this one is not going to do 400 downloads because it's just me rambling for 15 minutes now. I'd be curious to see how it goes in the new year. Greg Lamb's episode, he's got 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. Surely, I think it'd do numbers. That's just me. And then, obviously, the Grab Limited deep dive with Pratyush as well. A deep dive, back in the swing of things. I'm expecting it to do numbers as well. But you never know. So that's what I'm maybe sort of expecting from now on, 400 downloads an episode and growth on top of that. But in terms of expectations at the end of the year, I don't know. Is 100,000 downloads total too low of a bar? Too high of a bar? I don't know. Is 10x in a year? Oh, because I've only done this for half a year so far. So after one more whole year, at the end of this calendar year, is 10x feasible? Is it? Am I setting the bar too low? That's why, same thing again. I'd rather just focus on the process. And yeah, wherever it goes, I guess. For the website and the transcripts, that's at 6,500 total page views. Again, I don't know off the top of my head what the daily page views and stuff are, but I'm happy with it. People are finding it. So yeah, can't complain. I think for me, the one thing that I am maybe excited about or was cool to hear is I got to reach out on LinkedIn. I hope I can mention his name, Omar. Omar reached out to me. I don't want to list his full name, but Omar reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he said he just found it through Apple Podcasts, like the recommendations. So that was nice because I always thought it was totally word of mouth, 100% Twitter. So for someone to find the podcast just through algorithm recommendations, that's nice. So maybe, hopefully more of that. I'm always interested to find out where guests have found the episode or how they got onto the podcast, because I think that's interesting, knowing just what gets people through the door, for lack of a better word. So, yeah, no, that's probably about it for stats. If you have any questions about stats, feel free to ask. I don't mind sharing. I'm a pretty open book. In the blog page for this, I'll share all the screenshots of the web page, the downloads. Yeah, anything I can find that I think might be worthwhile to you, I'll share and plug it in. So, but if you have any other questions about the whole process of things, let me know. For plans for the podcast, not really much. Just keep doing what I'm doing. Focus on the process. I have thought about doing a stock-only podcast, but I think it's unlikely. And it's something that I have thought about, but I think I'm more just thinking about doing intermittent deep dives on companies at the moment. So the Scene Limited, maybe once a month, I might do the Scene Limited deep dive, then the Grab deep dive, Nintendo in February maybe. I don't think I have the time, effort, energy to support a standalone stock-only podcast alongside the interview one at the moment. I don't know. Ask me at the end of the year, maybe. But at the moment, I'm pretty happy doing intermittent deep dives, and that's just where I want to be. The one thing I am really keen to try is trying a couple of videos. Talking to Asianometry and Greg Lamb of Life Where I'm From, I'm really interested in videos at the moment. So I wouldn't mind trying just a few video essay type things on like profiles, because I have got this sort of side thing, Allocators Asia, that the first post is coming out mid-Jan, and that'll be on Lee Lu, but I want to do a video on that, on his life and story, and similar-ish to what Asianometry does. He does video essays. He's a very well-researched, really tight storylines, really well made. Mine would just be more focused maybe on people than technology and that sort of stuff. So I think that's where my interest lies. I think it's more so generally in the people. The only thing is I feel bad about is sometimes if I get a story wrong about someone, because it is a person at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's very personal. So I don't want to not make false claims, or, you know what I mean? I want it to be very tight, true, and, you know, I feel like if Lee Lu somehow watched that video and got pissed off that I mentioned something wrong, I'd be pretty cut, you know what I mean? So I really want to do it proper justice. Yeah, get it as well made as possible, so at least it's by the book as much as possible. I don't know. That's my fear with it, I guess. And in terms of what I'm hoping to achieve, like, this is like, I don't know, long term, I'd love to make a living from this. I don't know how feasible that is. I arrogantly, naively, again, stupidly, I feel like I probably can turn this full time, maybe eventually one day, and it's more of a case of when, not if. I just don't know how long, technically, but I'm in no rush, again. So I'm not stressing that I'm pumping money into this. Not pumping money, but I'm not stressed that I'm losing money on this at the moment, and either way, it's fun for me. One shorter term one would be, it would be amazing to like somehow get a sponsor that I can just cover the crap that I don't enjoy doing. So like the editing of podcast episodes, not my most favorite bit in the world. The transcripts, definitely don't enjoy. And then just going through the motions of prepping for the episode online, like chucking it all together, getting all the related links. If it was up to me, in a perfect world, I would just reach out to people that I admire, send cold emails, study and research them and their topics so I could ask informed questions, and then just do the actual interviews themselves. Everything else I would love to be able to outsource, but at the moment that's not feasible, not possible. So that's maybe probably the first step in what I'd like to achieve, but again, no rush. I'm still doing everything myself basically. So overall, hopefully you've gained something little from this. Please, I don't think I've enjoyed rambling, and I don't plan on doing this. Yeah, even doing this for next year's recap, I'm a bit I feel bad and skeptical of it already. But I just think, yeah, hopefully it's been valuable for you. If you have any questions, again, seriously, open book. Ask me anything, how the process goes, stats wise, what actually is involved with an episode. I'm happy to share whatever. Same thing with guests. If you ever had another guest you think might be a good fit for the podcast, either put me in contact with them, send me the message just saying who they are, and have a crack. I'll get back to you. Probably the best one's on Twitter at Kalani, so SCARROTTKALANI. And yeah, other than that, I just again want to say thanks. I really appreciate the time and effort that listeners and guests and everyone has put in. I've got the best job in the world here, so I'm extremely grateful that people are willing to listen to this. And yeah, anytime someone reaches out with feedback or criticism or ideas, I'm extremely grateful, and I honestly appreciate it way more than you know. So yeah, just thank you so much, and have a good one. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, be sure to check out the website compoundingpodcast.com. On the website, you'll find every episode complete with transcripts, show notes, and other related resources. If you want an email notification every time an episode releases, plus my lessons and takeaways from each episode, be sure to sign up to the Substack. So that's compoundingcuriosity.substack.com. Either way, links to all content mentioned today will be in the description below, and you can also connect with me on Twitter at Kalani. But until next time, have a good one.